Welcome back to another episode of the Working in Hockey Show. I'm your host, Nick Bowins, and today I'm super excited to be joined by Matt Marchese, host of the Fan Hockey Show on Sportsnet Radio and Sportsnet 360, a recent attendee of our Toronto Working in Hockey networking event as well. Matty, how you doing here today?
I'm good. The weather's nice. It's a little too hot for me, and I know people keep telling me, "Oh, you can't complain about the heat in the winter." I'm like, "No, no, I don't complain about the winter anymore because it's too hot for me." But it's all good, man. How about you?
All is good. All is good. It's been a busy couple of weeks from the Toronto event to the draft to free agency Canada Day, July 4th down here. But I've been looking forward to this conversation. I think you've got an interesting career and path through hockey media here, Matt, and would love for you to tell the people a little bit more about your role at Sportsnet, how you first got started, how long you've been there. Open door for the first question here.
All right, so we got an hour. It's a long. No, I'm kidding. So I started back as an intern with Sportsnet 590 The Fan, so just on the radio side in 2011. Interned there for I don't know, it was about 8 months. A position opened up on what was in primetime sports with Bob McCown, who's one of the, for those that don't know who he is, he's one of the legendary figures in sports broadcasting, like all time around the world, not just Canada. And I was an associate producer there for a bit. And then eventually I became the producer of that show. So learned a lot about hosting just by watching one of the greatest of all time. And then while I was doing that, I kept seeing other people get on air opportunities. And it's something that I wanted to do from when I was a kid. Because even though I didn't like listening to sports talk radio, because that's what my dad used to listen to all the time, I came full circle because that's what I ended up wanting to do. And so I went to my boss and I just said, "Hey, like I've worked with some really great broadcasters. I'd love to be on the air. That's my goal. And try me out. If I'm no good, you can tell me that I never have to do it again, but at least I gave it a shot." And that was in like August of, I guess it was like 8 years ago, something like that. And from then on, I kept getting more shifts. I started hosting on Saturdays while producing. Saturdays is kind of a good day to get a jumping off point because there's a lot of people driving their kids to sports, and and it worked out really well for me. Then after primetime sports ended, I worked on Hockey Central with Jeff Marek, Anthony Stewart, and Justin Bourne. We did that show for 2 years. We survived a pandemic with that show. Brian Burke guest hosting every once in a while with the guys, and then I worked with Jeff Solo on his show, and Jeff was, amazing to me in my career. He handpicked me to produce his show because, and he told me this, after it happened, was I picked you because I know you can host my show when I'm not there. And that was kind of like, as a well, not young, but a broadcaster, to hear Jeff Merrick tell you that, that goes a long way. It means a lot. And so ended up hosting that show for Jeff when he was off, and when he was doing stuff for 32 Thoughts. And then I actually hosted an NFL show for a year while producing for Jeff. And then I got this job on the Fan Hockey Show, and we just completed season 2. So it's been a wild ride, but it's been a blast. I mean, like I tell people, it beats working for a living, it beats digging ditches. Like my job before I was in radio and TV was I worked at a cemetery. Like it was quiet, a lot quieter than working in sports media, but it was, this is the life. I always tell people, like, I got it pretty good. I can't complain.
That's awesome, and I love to hear that you kind of came up on the producer production side of things there as well. So you've seen both sides. You've seen the on-air talent, the broadcasting side. You've seen everything that it takes to make these shows happen behind the scenes. What were some of the things that you were able to pick up on and learn when running the ones and twos and keeping everything in order behind the scenes?
So working for Bob, like Bob was very journalistic. Like it wasn't hot takey. It was very professional in how we had to run a show. And that being kind of the first foray into the sports broadcasting business. I forgot, I worked on Hockey Central at noon as well with Darren Millard, Nick Kiprios, Doug McLean. And so that was my first foray into the hockey part of it. But working with all these guys, like there's a level of expectation for the network and for what you do, especially with Bob. Not that the other guys didn't have expectations, but Bob had a different approach. And so you looked at things a little bit more critically. Bob's big thing was find me, and for those people out there, we used to have this thing called a newspaper. And Bob's thing was find me the little story at the bottom of the newspaper that's like this big that could be something that would be kind of a little bit off the radar, but entertaining to people. And what I learned along the way is, first of all, your relationships are key. Like maintaining a good rapport with guests, especially the guests that you have on regularly, is very important. But you also learn that you're in the entertainment business. And that was something that stuck with me. Like the way Bob phrased it was you got to think of it like you're on a sitcom. Some of us are funny, some of us aren't funny, whatever. But the premise is this person has a role, this person has a role, and everybody plays their part to make the show work. And so part of that is understanding that the business that you're in is you're in the entertainment business. You want people to enjoy their time because, in a way, much like a TV show, a sitcom, you are their escape from everyday life. It's like sports, right? Like when I go to the rink to play hockey on Monday nights or Sunday nights, that's my escape from whatever is going on in my life. And for an hour, 2 hours, whatever the case may be, that's where that's where you come in as a host, as someone who's part of a show. So learning that and then just being a being a professional broadcaster, like there were things that I learned watching Bob, just how he conducts his interviews, how, letting a certain moment breathe, long
Right.
pauses, like really getting your point across. And like he was so brilliant that we had a longtime Sports Illustrated writer, Frank DeFord, on the show. Frank DeFord was an absolutely legendary figure in sports writing. And he wrote a book on his career. It was the last book that he wrote, and we had him on to talk about it. And Bob says to him, were you a fan of A.A. Milne? And for those that don't know, A.A. Milne is who wrote the original Winnie the Pooh books. Like totally random. And Frank DeFord like stops in his tracks. And I wish at that time we did interviews on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. I know we didn't have the technology then, but I wish I could have seen his face because he stopped and his jaw must have just dropped because he said, yeah, why? And Bob said, because you write and the way you start each chapter is exactly how A.A. Milne started his chapter. So I'm like, that's such an analytical and crazy way to look at something. So I've tried to take that approach and just ask questions that the audience will find interesting or the audience will just go, wow, I can't even believe that they thought about that. I mean, I got a long way to go, but Jeff used to do that same thing. Like I've worked with really smart people and that's where you pick up on so many things. So it's the professionalism, it's a journalistic approach because we live in a time where it's all about a hot take and getting your 15 seconds on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter, whatever the case may be. And I think we've kind of gone away from that. So I think that people still enjoy that type of broadcasting and asking good questions and frankly, having fun because sports is not rocket science. I know there are people out there that try and make it that. It's fun, it's entertaining. And as soon as you make it too serious, I think people tune out. And those are the things that I've learned. Like if it's not entertaining, people don't want to listen to it or watch it.
Yeah, I think especially because there's so many alternative options to consume today, right? Like you said, it's a business of hot takes a lot of times in today's landscape, and I think that's one thing that I know myself and a lot of my diehard hockey fan friends really love about Sportsnet shows is, all you guys have been there for so long, right? There's a trust, there's a credibility, there's you know what you're getting, you know what you're tuning into. It's not something disingenuine or something for that 15 seconds of fame, which you do see on so many other mediums today, while still balancing that entertainment and kind of journalism and broadcasting side of things. Again, you've been around a lot of impressive media members over your time there. Tell me a little bit more about the shows with Jeff Marek, because to me, growing up, he's one of the ones who just perfectly paints a picture with every question he asks, every minor hockey or junior hockey nugget that he drops into a conversation. What were some of the things conversationally or philosophically that you picked up from so many shows with him?
What I like, he was just such a pro, and he's so smart, and the things that he could pull from, like, you talk about those nuggets from, like, minor hockey, junior hockey. If you even take it a step further, some of the quotes that he would pull out from, like, philosophers, and I'm like, my brain can't even go to these places. Um, he always had this one quote about the famous boxer Marvin Hagler, and he says, "It's hard to go do road work when you sleep in silk pajamas." And I've always, like, that's always stuck with me. I don't know why, but he always had those things. And the one thing that really for me, like, cemented Jeff's place in, like, my life and my learning ability is how he treated me. Like, we had moments where we had to have tough conversations, but for the most part, Jeff said, "I trust you to do the job." And I mean, Bob did that same thing. "I trust you to do the job. That's your job. My job is not to produce." And Jeff gave me the opportunity to be on air on his show. I became a part of the show, and people knew who I was because of that. And so the way that you treat people in this business goes such a long way. And I've worked with some of the greatest broadcasters, and I will forever be grateful, but how they treat you goes a long way. Um, I don't know that I would be where I am. I mean, I probably wouldn't be where I am as a broadcaster if I didn't work for those two guys specifically, because I just worked so closely with them for so long. Um, when the producer of Primetime Sports, the guy who was there when I was the associate producer, when he left, Bob had full trust in me to do the job because I had proven that I could do it. And the fact that Jeff handpicked me because he trusted me, that means a lot. And so as a host now, I let my producer do his thing. Mike Gentile is my producer, eye candy, as he is referred to, or so eloquently referred to himself one day when talking about our pal Mike Futa's contract negotiations. And I told him, and there was some hesitation at first when he took the job, because he's like, "You just did this job." And I said, "Listen, you want help, you want ideas, no problem. That's my job as a host. But I trust you to do the job as best as you can. And are there going to be learning experiences along the way?" Like, Mike's a very experienced producer, but he came in to a job that I had already done, and I had to make sure that he knew, like, "Listen, I'm not breathing down your neck here. Like, I'll give you a list of guests that I like. I'll tell you ones that maybe I wouldn't have on. I'm also open to trying different people because that's how it works. You never know what you're going to find." So those are the things that I learned, especially from Jeff, because he was such an influence. Like, at a part in my career where I was doing more on air stuff. So a lot of the stuff was relatable and things that I could use when I'm broadcasting, and picking things from Bob that I like and picking things from Jeff that I like and from other people that I listen to. So like, Jeff's impact on my career, I literally cannot say enough about what he's meant to me.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think, a couple themes through both, Bob and Jeff there, integrity with the journalism, right? Trust in the people around you and respecting everybody that's there. I think those are things that you hear about, just about all the best people in hockey, regardless of the role, the department, the company, etcetera, so great to hear with those gentlemen as well. On the flip side, you've had a lot of cool guests on the show over the years. You've got to be around a lot of different hockey people, both players, front office staff, you name it. Who are some of the people that maybe really jump out to you as guests, as really well spoken, really great stories, really captivating? I'm sure a lot come to mind there, but I think there's probably some common themes and trends between those guys too.
So I'll tell you, one of the best guests that we've had on is Ryan Strome. So Ryan Strome, now with the Calgary Flames, um, that guy's future in broadcasting is pretty much rubber stamp. Like, it's done. If he wants to work in media, he can. Um, just so he's entertaining, he's smart, but he also is he's a good broadcaster for a guy that really hasn't done it very much. Like he's done it a couple of times here and there during the playoffs. He just did it for us this past playoff. He's fantastic and a wonderful guy. Like just having a conversation with him, he treats you like there are some athletes, some hockey players that they don't treat you like a human being, and it's not a long list, and I'm certainly not going to give out any names. But there are some that are like that, and the ones for the most part that I've spoken to and dealt with have been amazing. Um, and not because I'm in the role that I'm in now, but even before I became, a host on the station. So for me, Ryan Strome is great. I mean, I've had Wayne Gretzky on. I've had Brett Hull, Bobby Orr. Um, it's a lot. Like there's so many. I can give you a couple of funny stories about some guests. Like, so I met Bobby Orr in person, and Bobby Orr is fantastic. So this story it might catch people off guard, but I get where he's coming from, and I've told this on the air. I don't remember why I was probably just calling Bobby Orr just to get Bobby Orr on the show. Maybe there was an anniversary or something. I don't know, and I think it was on Primetime Sports. And the number I had happened to be his home number. So I called and I said, "Oh, Mr. Orr, it's Matt Marchese from Primetime Sports." And he says, "Matt, I'm going to stop you there. This is my home number." Click, and then and then that was it. So I get it. Like, he's an older guy. He doesn't want to be bothered at home. Like, okay, that's fine. But the problem there's two Wayne Gretzky stories that are pretty hilarious. So one, hilarious in my own mind anyway. So I was producing Hockey Central at noon, and I had no idea that Nick Kyprios had called Wayne Gretzky to come on the show. Just kind of sent him a note, said, "Hey, if you got time, we want to have you on, whatever." So I'm on the phone with Mike Camilleri, and the phone rings in the studio. So we have multiple phones. And I said, "Mike, can you just give me 1 sec? I got to pick up this other call." He said, "Yeah, no problem." I pick up the phone and it's like, "Hi, it's Wayne Gretzky calling." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I buzzed in and I'm like, "Hey, Wayne Gretzky's on the phone." And Nick's like, yeah, let's get him on. Let's get him on. I'm like, "So do you want me to see if Mike can move?" Like, yeah. I'm like, "All right." So I say, "Okay, Mr. Gretzky, like, we'll patch you through." And I answer like, "Hey, Mike, Wayne Gretzky's on the other line." He's like, "Oh yeah, no problem." He's like, "When do you need me for?" And then we ended up, booking him for later on in the show. But the one time I met Wayne Gretzky, so at Sportsnet, we have, and I was producing Primetime Sports, so I wasn't producing Hockey Central at noon at the time. And we had this room, it was called the Ballroom, and it was the old Sportsnet logo with baseball, so colored and everything. And myself and another producer, Travis, we were sitting in there, and we have a row of computers, and we were sitting on opposite sides so we could see each other. And, there's people in suits walking around the building all the time, and you don't think anything of it. So a group of people walks by in suits. Again, didn't think anything of it. And then one guy in a suit walks by again, and he walks in and he goes, "Oh, so this is where the magic happens." And I'm like, I look over at Travis and then I'm like, another guy coming in here to ask questions about how the business works, whatever. And I was like, I don't know, 25, 26. And I look at Travis, I look up and I put my head back to my computer and then I go, "Hold on a second." And I look back up again and it's Wayne Gretzky and he wants to talk shop. And then we started talking to him about his love for the Detroit Tigers, and it just totally catches you off guard. But like, it doesn't happen that often, but these are the types of people that you can just kind of run into
Yeah.
in the building. Like the amount of people, not like, I mean, I'll tell you, my favorite person that I've ever spoken to in that building from the hockey side is not even a player. It's not a front office person. It was Bob Cole.
Mm.
Like when Sportsnet acquired the TV rights for the first deal, um, we had Bob Cole on the show, and I had to call Bob Cole, and I'm like stammering on the phone. And then I got to meet him later on when he had his book come out, and that was like the coolest thing to me. The two coolest people that I've met for me, and it's no disrespect to anybody else, but Bob Cole and Jim Nantz, like the legendary Jim Nantz. And he came in and did an hour on Primetime Sports. Bob interviewed him for an hour. And then he said, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "Do you want to come and watch the Canadian Open in the broadcast tower with me and my crew?" He's
No
like, "You
way.
can bring somebody with you. I'll get you a pass." I'm like, "This is the coolest day ever." So took my dad. We actually went 2 years in a row. And the first year we sat in the tower with Jim Nance. Ian Baker Finch was the analyst with him. And it was the best thing ever because there was a rain out at the Canadian Open. So there was a delay in play. There was lightning in the area. And literally they replayed on the screen the Canadian Open from the year before with Jim Nance jumping in every once in a while to say, "Hey, this is a replay of the, whatever it was, Canadian Open." And I sat and got to talk shop with Jim Nance for 2.5 hours,
That's amazing.
just about whatever. So I've been very blessed with some of the wonderful people that I've been able to run into along.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. But again, I think that's and part of the reason why I wanted to have you on here, Matt, is I think a lot of times when we speak to students, young professionals, they think about GM roles, think about coach roles, but they don't always think about these roles and some of the cool opportunities and doors that get opened up with all these different paths in the game. Um, Not to turn it to a negative note here, Matt, but I always like to ask what's a lesson, whether it be on the production side or on air, a lesson that you learned the hard way in your career?
Oh man. Don't leave anything till the last minute is usually a pretty good one. Like make sure you're over prepped. Because there have been a couple of times early in my career where I was like, I got this. And then I'm not over prepped and ideas just run dry during the show and you just, pulling stuff out of whatever orifice that you can to try and make things go by. That's kind of the biggest one. The other thing is honestly own your mistakes. People respect you more like, "Hey, I screwed up. That's on me." And not that I had to learn that along the way, but I think what you learn is that it's appreciated. You're not hiding behind anything. You're not hiding behind anyone. The other part is, and some people have actually not criticized me, but they've kind of joked about it. Like, if I didn't do something, if like we got, like we have a guy who helps book guests for the entire station. His name's Daniele Franceschi. I'm actually hosting with him this week. And he told like he books guests. Like that's he chases the big kahunas. And he was able to book a guest and somebody said, "Oh, great job on booking." I was like, "Wasn't me." Like I'm going to give credit where credit is due, right? And so I think that's important because it shows humility. It shows that you're a good teammate. Like you there when you get into this business, as much as it does feel like not that you're on an island, but you're fighting for airtime, you're fighting to be noticed. I think it's really important that you also, work you have to work hard, but it's also like you work in a team environment. And if you're a jerk, like people don't like that. I've spoken to a couple people, and this is without even knowing it. I'm just myself, and I try to be treat everybody the same way, treat them with respect. And he came up to me and said, like we're in a meeting, and he said, a lot of people speak highly of you because you're a good teammate. And I've tried that. That was something that I tried to be my entire life in sports, at work, like just be a good teammate. So I don't think that's something you learn the hard way, but I think you learn that it goes a long way.
Yeah.
People respect you more. And there is something to be said about respect in my business because it's a tough one. And I've been doing this for, if you include being an intern, I've been at this thing 15 years. It's the only job I've ever had in the field, like, and working at this company. So to me, that I take pride in that because a lot of people come and go. That's how it works. But if you're a good teammate and you show humility, I think that goes a long way. There's a belief out there that when you get to a certain point, and I've actually told this to my wife and I've told it to friends at work, like if I ever get like that, you get to slap me. Like you're allowed to do that. And that is like just don't be a jerk. Be nice to everybody because I'm not better than anybody else. I will make fun of myself before anybody else does. And I think having that humility and just being grounded, I think that goes a long way because you're relatable. Like that's the other part too. I try and be as relatable as possible. Some people don't like when I talk about how I didn't sleep the night before because my kids didn't sleep, or the cat woke me up, or the dog woke me up, whatever. But to me, like, there are a lot of other people that are dealing with that same thing. Be relatable. I think those things are all important in this job.
Yeah, I think that's very well said, especially, it's like on the ice. It's competitive, right? Everybody's competing for that next spot, that best opportunity, but your team at the end of the day, and like you said, the hockey world, in particular is a small one. You never know where those relationships pop back up
Yep.
or, when you treated somebody poorly or properly, vice versa. Um, I wanna talk again, you've talked to a lot of different people in and around the game, around the industry as a whole. If we look forward here, Matt, what sort of roles within the game of hockey do you think are going to continue to increase demand, explode, ramp up, pop up more with teams over the next couple years? I feel like the last couple of years, there's been a huge emphasis on, your creative media roles with the marketing side, as well as nutrition and recovery roles. But again, you're around the game. You have a lot of conversations that we aren't privy to publicly. What are some roles or areas of the game that you think job opportunities are hopefully going to continue to expand?
Well, first of all, if you're looking for those job opportunities, you should sign up for the Working in Hockey newsletter because it's
Go.
awesome. And I'm not actively looking for a job, but I look at it every time you send it out. I think it's fantastic. I'm not saying that just because I'm on here. But
Thank you. Okay.
I think the analytics side is really going to start to boom now. And I don't think that that's like Eric Tulsky becoming GM of the Carolina Hurricanes and winning a Stanley Cup thing. I think that's just the way the game was heading, and just there's gonna be more of an emphasis on that. Um, I also think that that's from a hockey perspective. From from the media side with hockey teams, I think teams are gonna be doing more of their own stuff. I think that's gonna be kind of the changing of the landscape. Like, they wanna control as much of their narrative as they can. Like, that's a normal thing because they are a business at the end of the day. And so I think that's gonna be the next kind of thing. I think that's the way teams are gonna be going, is looking at, really really investing time and space in Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, those kinds of videos. I think that's kind of the next evolution. Like, there are some teams, like Vegas has Gary Lawless, right? He's like the Vegas insider. There's a few of them like that. Tarek El Bashir, I believe, does that with the
Yep.
Capitals
Even
as well
Ryan
for
Leslie with
Monumental.
the Leafs there.
Ryan Leslie with the Leafs. Like, I think that role becomes more prominent, and more teams, they add to their staff like that. Like, I think there could be two or three people on that staff, and those guys all do a fantastic job. Like, and there are more, so I'm just forgetting some names here, but I think that's kind of where I think there's going to be more stuff that's put out by teams, and really trying to take advantage of the digital space, because the reality of the world in which we live in is it's a microwave society. 15, 30, 60-second videos. That's the attention span of the younger generation. Sorry for all you out there, but that's the reality of where we're at. It's why I suck at TikTok and Instagram, is because I don't know how to capitalize on all that stuff, because everything that I do, uh, I'm doing it on this podcast. I can't shut up. My wife tells me this all the time. So that's where I think this space is going. I actually had a conversation with somebody at the Working in Hockey event at the Hockey Hall of Fame, and that was the question, like, where do you think this is going? I think that's exactly where it's going. I think we're going to get a lot more of that going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think like we said earlier, the hot take environment, the quick clip it, get it out there, the best way to combat that is have things in-house and control your own narratives, and, it seems like that's the route that a couple prominent teams have started to go. I like that answer a lot, Matt, but, this has been awesome here. I think, some great insights, some great stories. I think we could do this for a very long time, but I'm going to wrap it up with one question here that I use to end every episode, Matt, and that is, what is the best piece of career advice that you've been given through your career?
There's been a lot. Um, the best bit of advice is try everything, because the one thing that you think might be the be all end all for you might not be it. And you may not get to that pinnacle. Like, it just doesn't happen for everybody. But along the way, if you try different things, first of all, it's great on a resume. Secondly, the thing that you never thought would be something that you would like, be great at, really, really enjoy, and truly becomes your passion, which then in turn becomes not a job. It's just what you do. You don't know when that thing is gonna come along. Like I say that because I've been given opportunities to try different things. I did, a small reporting thing. Um, I was asked to do a reporting thing that fell through, and it was for like IndyCar. And I was like, I know nothing about car. I don't even like racing. I barely know anything about my car. But I was willing to do it because it's an opportunity and you never know where it's gonna lead you. That and believe in your abilities. Like for the longest time, I kept telling myself, like, you're good enough to be on the air. You're good enough to be on the air. I would tell anybody that listened, like, I know I can do this. And I still tell myself that. Like, you're good enough to do this. And if you have that self belief, um, opportunities will follow because people can see passion, people can see how you conduct yourself, and not be like, be, you know, don't be arrogant, don't be cocky, but be confident. And I think those things are very important in any walk of life. It doesn't have to be in hockey, it doesn't have to be in media. I just think that people wanna be around positive people, and I think that working in a team environment, that goes a long way. So, I mean, I could give you, like, 1,000 bits of advice because 'cause I've been doing this for so long, but those are the 2 things that kinda have stood out to me that I've always said to people because, I mean, if I didn't go into that room and tell my boss, "Hey, I really wanna do this. I know I can do it. Just give me an opportunity," I may not even be in this business anymore. Like, I don't know. Things happen for a reason, and call it arrogance, call it whatever. I was confident, and that turned into me now being a host of a national hockey show, which even today I still pinch myself because, like I said earlier, beats working for a living.
Yes, like you said, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. You gotta put yourself
Yep,
out there, and, you did that, and you landed a dream job, my friend. So,
I sure did.
as a fan of the show, keep it up. You guys do great work.
Thank
Love
you.
tuning in. And as a friend, thank you for coming on the Working in Hockey show here. Tell the people where they can find you this summer for all this sports talk, Matt.
You can check me out on Twitter at MattyMar89, or on Instagram at MattyMarSN89 because the other one wasn't available for me. And I'll be on Sportsnet 590 The Fan for the next couple weeks, and then I will be on vacation until September. Much needed break, and then hockey's back, and I cannot wait because I still think there's more fireworks to come.
It's gonna come and it's gonna come quick. But Matt, thanks again for the time, man. Really appreciate it. And for all our listeners out there, thank you for listening to another edition of the Working in Hockey show. We will see you next week.